I use AI art to create thumbnail assets and other bits and bobs for the channel, and I've been hearing a lot about this Chat GPT AI that you're supposedly able to give it prompts and it'll create just about anything text-based for you. So I decided to put it to the test by asking it to write me 3 horror short stories on some fairly basic prompts and just see how it does. Here's the first one. Write a horror short story about a Wendigo attacking a camper and his dog. Let's read it. Just so you know, I haven't read these beforehand. I'm going to be experiencing this live on camera. All right, the title it's come up with is Wendigo's Attack, horror. Okay. The sun had long disappeared below the horizon, casting an eerie twilight over the dense forest. John, an avid camper, had set up his tent near a tranquil lake, seeking solace and a break from the pressures of the modern world. Accompanied by his faithful German shepherd, Max, he had ventured deep into the wilderness, unaware of the sinister presence lurking in the shadows. Okay, I'll tell you what I like so far. They actually gave the dog's breed. I didn't think it was going to do that. I wasn't even sure if it was going to name the dog. I thought it might just be like, and his dog. As darkness settled in, John kindled a small fire, its flickering flames offering a feeble reassurance against the encroaching night. Max lay faithfully by his side, his sharp ears perked up, attuned to the subtlest of sounds. The forest seemed alive with whispers, rustling leaves, and distant hoots of nocturnal creatures. But soon, a disturbing unease settled upon them both. The once calm atmosphere turned oppressive, suffused with an otherworldly aura. John's skin prickled as a bone-chilling wind swept through the trees, carrying a haunting howl that seemed to echo from every direction. Suffused is a good word. I love suffused. Good job, Chat GPT. Max growled. His hackles raised an alarm. John patted his loyal companion, sharing the dog's apprehension. He tightened his grip on the flashlight, his heart pounding in his chest. "We're not alone out here, boy," he murmured. Just as he spoke, a creature emerged from the darkness. Its emaciated frame was cloaked in tattered, matted fur. Long, bony limbs terminated in jagged claws, and its eyes glowed with a malevolent hunger. It was a Wendigo, a creature of legend, driven by an insatiable appetite for human flesh. John's blood ran cold as he locked eyes with the Wendigo. Panic surged through his veins, urging him to flee, but he knew escape was futile. The Wendigo moved with unnerving speed, closing the distance between them in an instant. Max lunged forward, his teeth bared, bravely defending his master. The Wendigo struck back with a swipe of its razor-sharp claws, tearing into the dog's flesh. "Max!" Max let out a pained yelp, but he didn't falter, determined to protect John until his last breath. Rage and grief fueled John's instincts. He fought back, swinging the flashlight with all his might. The beam struck the Wendigo's head, momentarily disorienting the creature. It recoiled, emitting a piercing screech that pierced the night. Okay, beam struck. I don't think that's quite right. And then a piercing scream that pierced the night. But hey, this is pretty good so far. Seizing the opportunity, John grabbed Max and sprinted towards the lake, hoping the water would offer them sanctuary. But the Wendigo, driven by a relentless hunger, pursued them with unnatural swiftness. Its twisted form moved in a twisted, bone-cracking manner, its speed defying all reason. They reached the lake's edge, desperation etched on their faces. With one final surge of strength, John hurled himself and Max into the icy water. The Wendigo, undeterred by the deep chill, lunged forward, its claws slashing through the air. For a moment, the surface of the lake boiled as the Wendigo fought to reach its prey, but the water offered a momentary respite, denying the creature its final meal. The Wendigo roared in frustration, its shrill cry reverberating through the night. John held Max tightly, their bodies trembling from the cold and the harrowing ordeal. They remained submerged until first light of dawn broke through the trees, signaling the end of the Wendigo's reign of terror. The forest regained its tranquility as if the horrors of the previous night were nothing more than a haunting dream. John, forever scarred by the encounter, vowed never to venture into those woods again, and as he returned home with Max by his side, he couldn't help but glance over his shoulder, wary of the lingering presence of the Wendigo, forever lurking in the depths of the forest. Dang. That's pretty good. How many words is that? Yeah, about 600 words. Not bad, ChatGPT. Not bad. Okay, second story. With this one, I went a little bit less traditional. Like, it's not a man and his dog camping being accosted by a creature in the woods. So here we go. Write a horror story about a werewolf in a coffee shop. And the name we've come up with is Werewolf Rampage Coffee Shop. I'll tell you what, for how good the stories are, the titles are crap. The full moon hung high in the night sky, casting an eerie glow over the small town. In the heart of the town sat a cozy coffee shop called Moonlit Brews. That is the best. Oh my god. It's a horror story about a werewolf in a coffee shop, and the coffee shop is called Moonlit Brews. That is impeccable. This story should be called Moonlit Brews. In the heart of the town sat a cozy coffee shop called Moonlit Brews, known for its warm atmosphere and aromatic blends. The shop was a popular gathering place for locals seeking respite from their daily routines. However, on this particular night, an unsuspecting terror lurked in the shadows, waiting for its moment to strike. As the clock ticked closer to midnight, a solitary figure entered the coffee shop, tall and imposing. He wore a long trench coat that concealed his features. The man's name was Jacob, and he had come to Moonlit Brews seeking refuge from his curse, a curse that transformed him into a fearsome werewolf whenever the full moon graced the sky. Jacob had hoped that by surrounding himself with the warmth of human company, he could stave off his monstrous nature. Okay, I know exactly what that is from. That's from Bad Moon. The guy in Bad Moon moved back with his family, putting them in imminent danger because he thought that family love would cure him or allow him to fight the curse. So basically, Jacob is also an idiot, and all these people are dog food. The gentle hum of conversation and the comforting aroma of freshly brewed coffee provided a brief respite from his affliction. However, tonight, the beast within him stirred more fiercely than ever. Unbeknownst to the other patrons, a sense of unease crept through the air as the clock struck midnight. The room grew colder and a haunting silence settled over the shop. One by one, the customers began to notice the subtle changes. Whispers of uncertainty rippled through the crowd, but no one could pinpoint the cause. Suddenly, a bone-chilling howl pierced the air, shattering the uneasy silence. Panic erupted in the coffee shop as customers scrambled for the safety of the exit. Fear gripped their hearts, knowing that something sinister had invaded their sanctuary. Jacob, now transformed into a hulking werewolf, prowled the coffee shop, his keen senses guiding him towards his prey. His once human eyes burned with a predatory hunger as he sniffed the air, catching whiffs of the terrified patrons huddled together near the entrance. Why aren't they going through? Why are they huddling at the entrance and not leaving? With each step, Jacob's transformation became more complete. Thick fur sprouted across his body, elongated claws emerged from his fingertips, and his teeth sharpened into fangs capable of rending flesh. The hunt was on, and the werewolf's instincts took over, overriding any semblance of humanity that might have remained. The remaining customers, trapped like cornered mice, could only watch in horror as Jacob closed in on them. With savage grace, he pounced upon his first victim, a young woman who had sought solace in the Moonlit Brews' friendly ambiance. I don't know. The Wendigo one also had this kind of theme where he's like, I gotta get away from the modern world, and all these people are like, we need solace and respite. Solace and respite! And are you okay, Chat GPT? Do you need a vacation? Do you need a break? The air filled with her screams, now intermingled with the guttural growls of the beast. One by one, the werewolf tore through the patrons, its primal instincts overpowering any remnants of Jacob's conscience. The once cozy coffee shop became a nightmarish scene of chaos and terror. Outside, the town's police force received frantic calls from witnesses who had fled the carnage. They arrived at Moonlit Brews with weapons at ready. Their courage mingled with trepidation. They cautiously ventured into the coffee shop, stepping over shattered furniture and broken trees. Oh, Chat GPT, you silly sod. Inside, shattered furniture and broken trees. Inside, they found a blood-soaked scene of carnage, with torn limbs and mangled bodies strewn across the floor. And in the midst of it all stood Jacob, his monstrous form towering over the lifeless bodies, the remnants of his humanity buried deep within. The werewolf turned its feral gaze towards the newcomers, a snarl twisting its lupine features. The police officers, shaken but resolute, opened fire. Bullets pierced the air, finding their mark in the werewolf's massive frame. With each shot, the beast grew weaker until it collapsed, a lifeless heap of fur and blood. And broken dreams, am I right? Silence descended upon Moonlit Brews once more, broken only by the mournful howling of the wind outside. The coffee shop, once a haven for community and connection, now stood as a grim reminder of the horrors that lurk within the shadows, reminding the town's residents of the untamed darkness that could be unleashed with the rise of the next full moon. Okay, that was absolutely hilarious. I gotta read that again. They cautiously ventured into the coffee shop, stepping over shattered furniture and broken dreams. Oh, thank you, Chat GPT. I needed this. All right, third and final story. Write a horror story about a zombie that has a woman trapped in a tree. Let's see how it goes. We've got the title, Zombie Trap Tree. The wind howled through the desolate forest, carrying with it a bone-chilling cold. The moon hid behind a thick layer of ominous clouds, casting eerie shadows on the landscape below. In the heart of this darkness, a lone woman named Emily found herself trapped in a gnarled and twisted tree. Emily had ventured into the forest in search of solitude, hoping to escape the troubles of the world. Seriously, Chat GPT, do you need a break? Do you need to just shut the servers down for a little bit and, chill? Do you need a camping trip? It sounds like you might be really in the mood for a camping trip. Little did she know that the horrors she sought to escape would soon catch up with her. As she wandered deeper into the thicket, the ground suddenly gave way beneath her feet, and she found herself falling into a hidden pit. The pit was a dark and damp cavern, its walls covered in a slimy substance that seemed to squirm and writhe. Emily's heart pounded in her chest as she desperately tried to find a way out. Panic set in as she realized that she was not alone. The pit was the final resting place of a zombie. The creature was a gruesome sight to behold. Its flesh was gray and decaying, chunks of rotted flesh hanging from its skeletal frame. Its empty eye sockets glowed with an eerie, otherworldly light, and its teeth were stained with blood and grime. The zombie turned its gaze toward Emily, emitting a low, guttural growl. Emily's mind raced as she frantically searched for an escape route. Her eyes landed on a twisted tree root jutting out from the wall of the pit. With a surge of hope, she reached out and grasped it, pulling herself upward. The zombie lunged forward, its bony fingers scraping against the walls, desperate to find its prey. Emily climbed with all her strength, fear coursing through her veins. She could hear the creature's ragged breaths growing closer, its hunger-fueled moans echoing through the pit. The roots she clung to seemed to coil and writhe like living tendrils, as if trying to hinder her escape. Finally, Emily emerged from the pit, her body shaking with exhaustion and terror. She found herself entangled in the very same twisted tree she had fallen into earlier. Its branches seemed to curl around her, imprisoning her within its embrace. She realized too late that this was no ordinary tree. The zombie clawed its way out of the pit, its tattered clothes snagging on the branches as it reached out for Emily. The tree seemed to come alive, its gnarled limbs contorting and shifting, wrapping around Emily's body, constricting her movements. She screamed in horror and fought against the tree's grip, but it only tightened its hold. So we've got an Evil Dead tree here. The zombie drew closer, its rotten breath hot on Emily's neck. She could feel its decaying fingers brushing against her skin. Tears streamed down her face as she resigned herself to her gruesome fate. The zombie sank its teeth into her flesh, its jagged teeth tearing through her tender skin. As her vision faded and darkness enveloped her, Emily realized she had found the solitude she sought, only now it was a solitude tainted by the undead, forever trapped in the embrace of a malevolent tree, condemned to be a plaything for the zombie that haunted the forest. And so the legend of the haunted tree and the zombie trapped within grew. A cautionary tale to warn those who dared to wander too far into the depths of the dark and forgotten forest. Okay. Well, interesting thing happened there. Interesting thing happened there, and I think it's because of my wording. I said write a horror short story about a zombie that has a woman trapped in a tree. My thinking, of course, was she's in a tree. She's up the tree. But I bet if I changed that to write a horror story about a zombie that has a woman trapped up a tree, it would change. And I want to see. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that right now. Okay. Excellent news, everyone. I have changed that one word from in a tree to up a tree, and now we've got the story Zombie Escape Tree. It looks relatively short. I'm going to do it. So bonus 4 horror short stories. Hello. The sun had set, casting an eerie glow upon the quiet town. Emily, a young woman with fiery red hair and piercing green eyes, found herself running through the desolate streets, her heart pounding in her chest. Already so much better. Fiery redhead? Oh my god. Behind her, a grotesque creature lurched forward, its decaying flesh hanging from its bones. It was a zombie, relentless in its pursuit of fresh human flesh. Emily's breath came in ragged gasps as she raced towards the nearest refuge, a large oak tree standing tall in the center of the small park. She knew the dead had difficulty navigating obstacles. She did? How? What is the overarching story here? And she hoped the branches would provide her with a temporary sanctuary. With her last ounce of strength, she scrambled up the tree, her hands gripping the rough bark for dear life. From her perch, Emily could see the zombie slowly making its way towards her, its empty eyes fixed upon its prey. Its moans filled the air, chilling her to the bone. She knew she couldn't stay in the tree forever, but she desperately needed a moment to gather her thoughts and formulate a plan. Minutes turned into hours as Emily clung to the tree, the cold night air gnawing at her skin. The zombie circled the tree, its foul stench permeating the air. Emily's body trembled with fear and exhaustion, her mind racing for a way to escape. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew through the park, rustling the leaves and carrying with it a whispered voice. "Emily," it called, barely audible over the groans of the undead. Startled, Emily turned her head, scanning the area for the source of the voice. High up in the tree's branches, she spotted a shadowy figure, its features obscured by the darkness. "Who are you?" she whispered. Who are you? She whispered, her voice filled with both hope and fear. "I am the spirit of this tree," the voice replied, its tone ethereal and haunting. "I have witnessed countless horrors and sheltered many lost souls, but you, Emily, have a chance to break free from this fate." Emily's heart pounded in her chest as she listened intently. "What must I do?" she asked, her voice trembling. "The undead are drawn to the living by the scent of fear," the voice explained. "You must find the strength within you to overcome it. Conquer your terror, and they shall lose their grip on you." Emily took a deep breath, summoning every ounce of courage she had left. The zombie continued its relentless pacing, its eyes never straying from her. With a newfound determination, she focused on the voice's words, willing her fear to subside. Slowly, the air around Emily changed. The groans of the zombie grew faint, as if being swallowed by the night itself. The creature's interest waned, and it shuffled away, leaving Emily alone in her tree sanctuary, her zombie escape tree. Tears streamed down her face as she realized she had survived. The spirit of the tree spoke once more, its voice fading away. "Remember, Emily, the strength to conquer fear lies within you. Find it, and you shall overcome any darkness that befalls you." This is a freaking children's book. With a grateful heart, Emily descended from the tree, her legs shaky but her spirit resolute. She knew that the horrors of the night were not yet over, but she had discovered a newfound strength within herself. As she ventured back into the quiet town, Emily carried the memory of the tree's spirit, a reminder that even in the face of the most unimaginable horrors, the human spirit could rise above and conquer. I thought the werewolf one got silly and... All right, well, that's okay. I think the first one was better because it was a little bit of a twist ending, right? The tree was alive, and now she's a plaything for the zombie in the cursed forest. Well, hey, I've been Smokey Lyle. This is Horror and Cats. Thanks for watching, and let me know if you've done anything funny with Chat GPT because, damn, this was a good laugh. See you next time.